My name's Jake. For 12 years, I wore the uniform. I answered the call before breakfast and stood watch long after sunset. I missed birthdays. I missed anniversaries. I missed funerals. I missed the small things, a dog's bark in the morning, the way the curtains sat in our living room. You trade those things when you raise your hand in service. You accept that the country comes first. I believed loyalty meant something. To my country, to my brothers in arms. To the woman I married. But when I came home, I realized I was the only one who still believed that. While I was deployed, my wife sold our house. She emptied our savings account. No goodbye, no warning, just an email that said, "Don't come looking for me." You don't know how small the world can feel until your life fits into a single message. I flew home on autopilot. The air smelled like winter and jet fuel. My uniform felt heavier than it used to. When I opened the front door, there were strangers on the couch. The photos I had taken down before deployment were on the wall, but the smiles were different. My dog wasn't there. Even the salt and pepper shakers had changed. My life had been rearranged while I was 6,000 miles away. I called her. She answered on the second ring. "You picked the military," she said. "You picked your job." I picked me. The line went dead. The silence after a call like that has weight. It sits on your chest and refuses to move. For a while, I let my anger burn in private. Anger is a warm thing. It keeps you moving. But anger can also make you careless. So I did what the job taught me to do: slow down, gather facts, act with purpose. I learned how deeds transfer. I learned how a signature can be notarized without the person in the room if someone is willing to lie. I learned the language of banks and courts. I learned I could be as patient as a judge and as relentless as a subpoena. I found the realtor's name, the closing date, the wire transfers. I pulled down statements, emails, message logs. I hired a lawyer who didn't believe in miracles. He believed in paperwork. We filed motions. We froze what we could. Every small victory felt like a brick in a wall I was building back toward my life. The first night back, I slept on the floor of a friend's spare room with my sea bag as a pillow. I set my boots by the door out of habit. In the dark, I could almost hear my dog's collar jingle like he might come trotting in and nudge my hand. So he didn't. Some absences echo louder than any sound. I started running at dawn. There's a stretch of road on the south side where the sun hits the river and turns it to copper. I'd run there and think about each step like it was a sentence I could write into the record. I wasn't chasing rage anymore. I was chasing clarity. Neighbors found out. Small town stock. Some people stopped making eye contact. Others showed up without asking. 2 doors down lived an old man named Walt. He had a limp from a mill accident and hands like cedar bark. He brought me a pot of stew and a paper bag with winter gloves. "People who do wrong," he said, "forget who pays the price. Keep your receipts. Keep your head." I kept both. In a coffee shop 3 towns over, a woman sat across from me and told me her story. Her name was Claire. She had been abandoned mid-treatment by a husband, who signed everything over to his brother. She said one sentence I couldn't shake. "They think they've won because they can change a lock. Jake, but you still have your name. Use it." I decided to be smart, not cruel. Not loud, smart. I wasn't going to burn anything to the ground just to watch it turn black. I was going to take back what was mine and leave them with the real cost: exposure, accountability, and the quiet of having nowhere to hide. We audited the transfers. We demanded receipts. We subpoenaed the realtor, the notary, the buyer's agent. I recorded conversations where the law allowed. We filed the quiet title action citing fraudulent conveyance. On paper, it looked like chess. In real life, it felt like lifting a car inch by inch to free someone pinned underneath. There were setbacks. Clerks who lost forms. A bank manager who couldn't locate the file we needed until we arrived with a court order. Nights I stared at an empty chair across the table and practiced breathing like the corpsman had taught us in the desert. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Count, reset, repeat. What I didn't expect was how many men reached out when they heard pieces of my story. Messages poured in at odd hours. A contractor whose fiancée sold his tools while he was overseas. A trucker whose brother-in-law borrowed his name to open debts that sank him. A cop whose partner's affair became a smear campaign when he wouldn't take the blame. Different details. Same wound, trust used like a weapon. One message came from a young soldier I'd trained years back. He wrote, "Sir, I don't know what to say except I'm sorry. If you need me to carry anything, I'll carry it." I read it 3 times and then just sat there. Because some offers live in your chest like a light. We built our case brick by brick. We found a discrepancy in the notarization. We found a bank timestamp that didn't line up. We found a text message from my ex to the realtor that said he's gone for months. It's clean. The law speaks slowly, but it speaks. We turned in our stack of paper and waited. The hearing wasn't a movie. No shouting, no pounding fists, no dramatic confessions. Just a room with low ceilings, fluorescent lights, and a judge with readers perched low on his nose. We presented documents, emails, timestamps, signatures. My lawyer asked questions like a man building a bridge. Step. Bolt. Step. The judge asked the notary to read the date and time on the stamp. Then he held up our certified copy from the bank. "Explain the discrepancy," he said. "Silence has a temperature. In that room it got cold. When the judgment came, it didn't roar. It landed like a heavy book on a table. Fraudulent transfer," the judge said. "Title is rescinded and will be held in trust pending final remedies. Fees and penalties to be determined." I looked at my ex. She mouthed, "You won't get away with this." But there was nothing to get away with. There was only what had been proven in daylight on paper. I could have sold the house right then, walked away with money and a headline. But this was never about money. Justice isn't tallying dollars. Justice is restoring the story someone tried to steal. It's sending back their rewrite with red ink in the margins. We posted a brief statement. No drama, just the facts from the ruling. Some people said I should keep it private. Some said I should scorch the earth. I chose a third path. Tell the truth, then go fix your life. Fixing my life didn't look like victory laps. It looked like replacing a lock at dusk and sitting on the front step when the porch light clicked on. It looked like repainting a room that still smelled like the past. It looked like opening a closet and finding a jacket I'd forgotten I loved and a box of letters I couldn't read yet. Walt came by with a screwdriver and a folding chair. He sat while I patched a dent in the drywall. "Funny thing about houses," he said. "They remember the people who stand up in them." We didn't talk much after that. Some silences heal. A week later, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside was a single page, an apology without ownership. "I'm sorry for how things ended. Apologies written in smoke don't warm a room." I folded the letter and put it in a file marked record. Not memories, not keepsakes. Just record. If you're listening and this sounds like your life, start with the first brick. Save the emails. Keep the receipts. Talk to someone who knows the law. Tell one person you trust the whole truth out loud. Not because you want revenge to taste sweet, but because truth needs a voice and yours will do. When you're ready, write your own ending. It won't be perfect. It won't be pretty. But it will be yours. Signed with your name, filed in daylight. Witnessed by people who showed up and others walked away. Ranger is snoring at my feet as I say this. The porch light just flicked on outside. Somewhere a train is calling the hour. I'm going to pour 2 bowls of stew, one for me, one for the old man who never stopped checking in, and then I'm going to sleep in a house that remembers the man who stood up in it. If you've been through something like this, tell your story below. If you need a place to start here. Because sometimes justice isn't a shout. It's a quiet, determined step forward.